Okay, so today's lesson is going to talk about subtracting integers. 1.3 was adding integers, and so it makes sense that 1.4 would be subtraction because they're very similar. And so what I want to do is show you kind of visually what is really going on. So let's just look here. We have our number line, and we have 5 minus 2. So if we start at 5, so actually I'm going to start at 0 and go to 5. Now, we all know that 5 minus 2 is 3. And so what's happening is you're going back 2. So you're pushing back the positive. If you wanted to think about this in the football situation, you could think about it as being a penalty. So 5 minus 2 yards for the positive team. So the positive team has the ball. They still have it, but they get penalized. And then wherever I end up at is going to be my answer. So 5 minus 2 is 3. Okay. And let me go ahead and show a few more examples. I'm going to erase this. Okay, so here we go. 5 minus 7. Now, the most common mistake that students make is they'll say that that's just 2, positive 2. But that would be if it was 5 minus 3, it would be positive 2. So 5 minus 7. So again, I'm going to go to 0. The positive team has the ball. They go 5 yards. And then I'm going to penalize the positive team 7 yards. So they're going to have to go back away from their goal, because remember, this would be where the positives go. This is the positive side in the number line. And then here would be the negative. So I'm going to go 5 minus 7. So I'm going to go back 7. Just like we went back here, back a 2, we're going to go back 7. So I'm going to go 5, 6, 7. Wherever you end up at is your answer. So it's going to be negative 2. So let's look at this one again. So, or a different problem. And I need to erase this. So 1 minus a negative 4. So I start at 0 and I go to 1. Now let's pretend that this is a negative team. So it's a negative 4. If I was adding a negative 4, I would go to the negative team because they'd be like, woohoo, I get to go 4 yards to my goal. But you can't add, you're subtracting. So I'm going to go back 4. So, and you can also think about it as the negative team is getting penalized if you want to think about the subtraction as a penalty. So the positive team had the ball, they went to 1. And then now the negative team has it, but they're going to get penalized. So I'm going to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And wherever you end up at is your answer. Okay. And it might take a couple of tries and making your own situations to really understand what's going on. And let's see. So negative 2 minus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and erase what I have on the number line. And so, okay, so we're at 0. The negative team goes 2 yards. So they're going to be happy because they're going towards their goal. I'm going to penalize them, though, 1 yard. And this is, again, it's going to be the negative team that's getting penalized 1 because it's a negative 1. So I'm going to go from negative 2. I'm going to go back 1. They're like, no, I want to go add. But again, you're not adding, you're subtracting. If you were adding, you would be able to go left. But you're not adding, so you have to go right. So again, wherever you end up at is your answer. So you can see we just ended up right here. That's going to be negative 1. Okay, and then let's look at this last problem. Negative 2. So the negative team has the ball, and they're going to go, let me erase this. Okay, so here we go. Negative 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and they're like, woohoo, we get to go towards our goal. But then the positive team has the ball, so they're going to get, they would want to go this way. And you can ask yourself again, if I was adding a positive 3 instead of the subtraction, if it was addition, I would be able to go this way. But you're not adding, your subtraction, so you have to go the opposite way. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3. And wherever you end up at is the answer. So it'd be negative 5. Now again, I'm just showing you visually kind of what's going on when you're subtracting positive and negative numbers. The next slide, Ms. Peterson is going to go over some tips to help you remember this. Again, I just wanted to show you visually, and hopefully, again, if you have any questions, bring that to class. Okay, there you go, Ms. Peterson.
Okay, so sorry.
That's okay.
Tips for subtracting integers. Okay, so remember that when we subtract an integer, we're always going to add its opposite. So looking at a problem, we have 5 minus 7. Well, 7 is a positive number, but I want to change it so that I'm adding its opposite. Well, what is the opposite of 7? Okay, well, the opposite is negative 7. So we have different signs. So different signs we subtract. We would do 7 minus 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. And we keep the sign of the higher number, which here is 7. So it's going to be a negative 2 as our answer. Another way that we say this is add a line, change the sign. And I'm just going to go ahead and erase. There we go. We add a line, change the sign. Okay, this is a great way to remember this. We're looking for our subtraction, and we're going to change it to addition. And right after, we're going to change the sign of the next integer. Well, this is negative, so sorry, we're going to make it a positive. Now we have 5 plus positive 2, which we should all be really good at. It's 7. The next one, just keep, change, change. This one helps us remember which one we changed the sign on.
Yeah, a lot of my students like this one.
Yeah, it's a good one. We look at negative 6, so we keep that, and we change our subtraction to plus, and we change our positive 2 to negative 2. Remember, you have to do both change, change to keep this as a equivalent expression. So negative 6 plus negative 2, I have the same signs, so I add 6 plus 2 to get 8, and I keep the sign, which is negative. So my answer is negative 8.
Cool. Just going back real quick. So do most of your kids use the keep, change, change?
I feel like I get a lot of them. Some of them memorize one and some of them memorize the other. Again, it's whatever's best for you.
Yeah. And that's kind of why we're showing you different ways, is because that way one way might work for you, but it might not work for your neighbor. So it's okay.
However, sorry.
That's okay.
To recommend something, choose the one you like and stick with it.
Absolutely.
Don't change back and forth.
Yeah.
So here are some examples. We would like you to write them down. We're going to go over these together in class.
Yeah. And you can try to solve them in your notes, and then when we go over it, you can check it as well. So
perfect. And the next thing that we're going to do is evaluating. So remember that we are plugging in negative 9 every time we see A. Excuse me. So we're going to write negative 9 because there's an A to start with. And as Mrs. D says, let's give that negative 9 a big hug. Negative 9 minus 6. Okay, well, here we go. We're back to our subtraction. So we want to add a line, change the sign. Okay, so once we get to an addition problem, we can remember our same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Well, since these are our same signs, we're going to add them together. 9 plus 6 is 15. And we're going to keep that negative, and our answer is going to be negative 15. The important thing is we're always changing the subtraction to addition.
yeah.
We're changing the number after, but we always are going to use the addition rules, and we can always use our Row, Row, Row Your Boat song.
Yeah. So I think, like, definitely if we encourage them to keep always changing, whenever you see a subtraction sign, you want to change it to addition. But you have to do two things. You have to add the opposite, or add a line, change a sign, or keep, change, change. If you were just to add it, make it an addition, it would be a whole new problem. So you have to always do two things. Okay? And we'll go over this more in class. Make sure you summarize at the bottom and write down any questions that you have. And we'll be looking at that on next class. Go ahead and discard that.